One of the things I love about triathlon is the fact that it caters for all abilities and for all ages. Now, we are seeing more races that are targeted at the younger athletes, encouraging them to take up the sport from an early age. And obviously the distances are shorter for youth and juniors, but how should training and preparation differ? Well, we've put together our top training tips for the young triathlete. The emphasis of your training needs to be on technique and transitions, as this will put minimal stress on your body, but can give you really significant gains to your overall performance. So if you break down the 3 sports and then try and focus on a couple of things within each. For example, in the swim, you could look at the underwater phase of your stroke and really work on that. And then also look at turning around buoys and making that a very efficient movement. When it comes to the bike, you can look at smooth gear changing and really getting your cornering nailed down. And then as for the run, you practice lots of running off the bike, and also just concentrating on good form. Well, on top of the individual sports, you can really make a lot of gains by working on your transitions. So for example, if you learn and manage to perfect the flying mount and dismount, that will save you a huge amount of time, and it'll be a skill that will be invaluable for the rest of your career. And then there's smaller things that will soon add up, like practicing putting your trainers on and off if you're doing duathlon, and also really simple, just learning to run with your bike, because it will save valuable seconds. Race distances are obviously shorter for the younger age groups, so your training should actually reflect this as well. So focus on quality over quantity. Don't be afraid to work really hard, but just make sure between your hard sessions you get plenty of rest and time to recover properly. You're better off doing less training and doing it well than doing hours and hours a week. And this especially goes for running, as when you're young, your bones are still going to be growing, so they're not going to be as strong. So make sure you do build up any volume gradually, and try and mix up the terrain and run on grass or softer surfaces whenever you can. It's great to be enthusiastic and wanting to win, but sometimes you need to just slow it down and work on the finer things and make sure you perfect those. For example, you could just look at your swimming stroke and break that down and concentrate on one small part, or you could look at your whole transition, but doing it slowly to start with. On this topic, try to perfect one thing before moving on to the next. And I know it can be really frustrating, but practice does make permanent, so you want to be doing it well to start with. And when it comes to putting it into a session, if you are working on technique, try and do it before you're too tired so you can really concentrate. For example, if you're doing drills, try and mix them in with your warm-up. And then maybe in swimming, you might want to put them in midway just to remind yourself to carry on doing the correct technique. Now, some coaches do tend to put drills at the end, so you're practicing when you're tired, but then that does require a lot of concentration. Visualization is a useful technique to work on as well, and it's not going to put any fatigue on your body, but can help improve your racing and your training. So try and set aside some time to visualize and go through whether it's a new technique that you're working on, whether it's your transition. Slow it down in your head and repeat it, and then hopefully when it comes to the real life scenario, you'll be that much smoother. As a young athlete, I'm a bit jealous of you because you probably have a huge amount of energy, but you still need to have plenty of rest and recovery. Just like an adult, your body is having to repair and get stronger after sessions, but on top of that, you're going to have natural muscle and bone growth. So therefore, you need to make sure you've got a very healthy diet that fuels your body, and you're also getting enough sleep. So there's no point in training hard if your body isn't able to adapt, recover, and get stronger. Pacing is a difficult one to explain and hard to train for, but understanding your pace will become invaluable in a race. Now, often the younger the athlete, the faster they go off at the start and the quicker the drop off, because as soon as the gun goes, the adrenaline's firing and you just want to win. But you can actually practice this in training, so try and doing some race pace intervals off a short rest. But having said that, don't get too hung up on it, because the more you race, the easier you'll find it to know exactly what pace you can race at. Well, that leads me on nicely. Don't be afraid to race. It's probably the reason that you're doing triathlon, and you can learn so much so quickly from this. But please remember, it is supposed to be fun. You get to meet others who've got the same hobbies, you get to race against your friends, you get that adrenaline and buzz from a competition. Plus, you're going to improve your race tactics and your triathlon skills pretty quickly. And when I say embrace racing, it doesn't necessarily have to be a big official event. Even racing within your club session, or maybe organising something amongst your friends, will still give you the benefit, and you'll get that adrenaline as well. As for kit, yes, you are going to need a bicycle, a helmet, a swimsuit, pair of goggles and some trainers. But don't get too hung up on it, because it is mainly about you. And some events will even hire out bicycles. Try not to be intimidated by some other athletes who might come with all the gear. Just think, if you can do well now with little equipment, then imagine as you start to upgrade, you'll see a much quicker improvement. And on that, when it comes to the bicycle, the biggest gain now is learning how to look after your bike and make what you have go faster, and also focusing on your own skills. Well, a couple of pieces of those kit are very important, such as your helmet. You need to make sure it fits well and it reaches the safety standards so that you're able to race. And the same goes for your shoes. They're very individual and your feet are going to be growing, so just make sure that you get regular checks so that they fit properly. Doing 3 sports and attending school or college is going to be a challenge for anyone's time. So communication is key. Make sure that you speak to your parents or guardian, your teachers and your coaches. And if you can, try and get them to speak to each other as well. And this becomes even more important if you're, say, training with a separate swimming club, running club and cycling club. Balancing these 3 sports is going to take up most of your time and your energy, but if you do want to look at a little bit of strength and conditioning work, then focus that on being bodyweight exercises and stretching and mobility exercises as well. And it might be worth speaking to your coach to see how you can incorporate this into your training to make you a stronger all-round athlete. Well, I can't emphasize it enough. The most important part for me about triathlon is to make sure that it's fun. Now, I'd love to know how you're managing to balance your schoolwork around your training. If you've got any good tips, do let us know in the comments section below. And if you haven't yet done so, hit the globe to subscribe. And if you want to watch a video that we made looking at how we can fit training around a busy work day, that's just here. And if you are training for your very first triathlon, we've made a series on that just here.